First of all, I would like to start with a disclaimer. It's a standard procedure. I'm not going to give you a comprehensive overview of all the tools available. If you have some approaches that you have invented, please join in and share with us. And I'm sure that this editor's work is very finely differentiated from being sentenced for murder. So this kind of vocation is not suitable for everyone. Nonetheless, I hope you will find something interesting in my presentation anyways. What do people say in any case when they are edited? I have been edited. And it always depends on the way you receive this edited file, whether it be PDF format without any clues what the editor wanted to see in that translation, or it's a Word file with change tracking where everything is as clear as possible. Roman Bulkevich have spoken here already about the philosophy of editing. There is recording of his last year presentation on that subject available, and you can watch this recording on the website of UTIC. So now let's look closer into the practical aspects of this work. The first case is very typical. You have this bilingual XLIF file. It's quite standard, but they forgot to track the changes, whereas you need them. I would like to mention MemoQ here because it's quite convenient for this kind of work. So you can draw up these changes. You can put them together on your own. This is the easiest way to do it. Apart from this approach, you can also simply use this import review document tool in MemoQ. You can change it to any format you need. If you have no computer at hand, or something similar, but you still want to see the changes, our Ukrainian colleagues, the Protemus company, have developed this convenient tool, Trick U Auditor. You can use your phone, mobile phone. You can open the Dropbox, and there you will find this form, which is easily viewed at your mobile device. This is an example with the agricultural text. This is how it looks. These developers have developed Change Tracker first. Now they have been giving that at their website. Now they are doing it on as a separate application. So it's worth using. At the end of this week, we will meet the developers in person here, and I will talk to them anyway about this issue. It's quite a convenient tool, I have to admit. Or another scenario, your customer sends you a Word file, and you would like to see the changes using this compare button in the Russian interface. You will see every single bit they have changed. We must not forget about this standard tool, but sometimes it happens. One more type of scenario. You have done everything. Everything is beautiful. Your DTP specialists have done all the setup of the final leaflet. You see the final version. They call the process proofreading. We call it the final proofreading or whatever. And you open the file, you see that some subtitles have disappeared, some are distorted, and the worst is whenever you print in or enter your notes into these small windows, it's going to take you a lot of time. There are a lot of standard phrases that could be used to simplify the work. There is specialized software which use the shortcuts. The best of them would be Phrase Expander. I'm not scared to take the less easier path. Flash paste is my choice. I have created this folder with PDF commenting. Practically every standard phrase is there. I mean, any phrase I would need to comment for the DTP specialists, where they need to shift the line or to change some ending of the title, to change the letters, lower, uppercase, whatever, not to break down the word like multi-channel into 2 lines. Back in the days, this program was free of charge at the website of Give of the Day. I've been using this software for about 5 years. I guess it's quite sufficient in terms of the tools I need for editing. My next case would be as follows. You have received a couple of files for work, and out of those you need to share all the edited or changed words. The Translator Studio does have this functionality to merge files, to merge. Here you see it as create view, and then you can use filter by terms. Here you see transactional later. So the program would show all the segments containing this term so that I could edit them. Translator Studio does have these functions, but that's appeared quite recently, whereas MemoQ has been using it, has been providing this for quite a while. Now again, merging files. Once we've done that, you can then export this text as one file, as an RTF. You can later edit it, and then you would face no problems with seeing the changes, the editing. Next case. That's pertaining to the previous presentation, the subtitles. Sometimes we do need to edit these subtitles. Sometimes, if you did the editor's work, you might need to see what exactly you changed, and you would be willing to see the highlights. This is the merge software developed for text files, for any text files. We see the background highlighted. I mean, every changed phrase is highlighted. We see the background highlighted. Here we see there is this folder with initial files and the target files. They might be either same or different. If they are different, on the left side hand you can see this option to look at the changes. More than that, you can edit what's been edited already. If you really see there is something wrong with those edited files.
And you can save the comparison results in this normal format, standard format, the HTML format. You create a report is generated. You can merge those reports and submit those to the customer to show that this is what I've done. Apart from the separate files that have been already edited, there's a comparison table that you can use to see what's been in there originally, and then what was the result of your edits. And let's come back to the Change Tracker app. If we need to merge all the changes from a huge number of bilingual files, so there were 100 billion files that were edited, and then there were the original files that you have to introduce changes to. The normal CAT systems, they allow you to create a changes report for one file, but to do that for several files or to all the files in the project, you unfortunately can't do that yet. So the old program called Change Tracker, you can see there's a file folder with the old files, the folder with the new files, and this program generates a quite straightforward spreadsheet with all the file names and with all the changes that happened in there. If you can see, learn about more doesn't work as a proper translation for discover more, obviously. Right. The developers of this program, I'm going to ask them to again bring back from retirement, because it's a huge savior for everybody who works in this field. Normally, of course, there's a huge number of other programs, other formats, and should any of you have a question, or maybe should any of you want to share their experience in this area, please, you're welcome to join. Other than that, that's my brief presentation. It happened to be so brief unexpectedly, so you're welcome to ask any questions, any concerns. Good morning. Thanks for your speech, for your presentation. My question is, as a translator, from a translator's point of view to editors, can you let me know, is there a line that we can draw between the responsibility of a translator and the responsibility of an editor? For example, there's a practice that when foreign companies, foreign organizations submit their files to us, the edited files, and they leave the final word, final cut to us. So if a translator does not agree with something, some edit, but they can do whatever they can, but this is my responsibility and this is my final say as a translator, this is my final say, so I don't agree with any of the edits, it's my responsibility and I take it. So where is that line? Where would it be? Where would that border be? And once again, in your presentation you've mentioned that there are certain items that are missing from the translation, for example, and and this is submitted to the translator to be confirmed. Oh no, that's sent to DTP guys. No, that's the proofread version, that's the final version. Okay, so the translators do not have any part to do with that. Yeah, it's me who's the translator. I am, as a translator, what I'm doing is I receive this PDF file from my customer, from my client, and I'm telling to the customer's DTP people what to do with this final file. So still the question remains, where is that line between the responsibilities, between the areas of responsibilities of the translators or editors? So what's the point when you can say that the translator has done his job and that's it? So I was on both sides of this river, and I have to say that the responsibility remains all the way until the very end, remains shared. It's a shared responsibility, and it depends on how well organized the processes at the customer's place are. For example, as we mentioned before, a translator does something, then his results are submitted to the organization passes it to the editor sends back his edits, and the translator has his final say to agree or disagree with those edits. And it's either the end of the process and the text goes into production, or there is a second iteration of this, when the translator indicates that I've done these changes and these changes here and there. These are going to the editor, and the editor can say whether he agrees or disagrees. But there's a variety of cases. For example, for technical documents, marketing documents, it sounds pretty simple, pretty basic. But if it's some sort of a psychological survey or some sort of sensitive document like medical records or some kind of stuff like that, in that regard it changes the case dramatically. You could often encounter cases when there's 3 translators who translate their material, then somebody else edits it, then it's back translated to the language, to the source language, then it is confirmed or approved or signed off, and after that a certain group of people is acting as a focus group for this survey, so that you can identify any concerns, any things in these materials. Then those survey results come back, and only after that this medical or psychological survey is released to the public. It can take several months, and at no point of this process you can say, right, this is it, my part is done. There's always a possibility where your additional corrections might come up. Somebody might ask you to add something or remove something or change something. I know people who do this in the medical area, in the medical sector, so this is a case there. Normally there's no such thing when a translator can just submit his work and say, right, I'm done here. Unfortunately for the translator, he keeps this responsibility up until the very end. One of my customers with this DTP case here, sometimes you have to proofread the files that have undergone the DTP process, because there are all sorts of mishaps that might happen at any stage. Normally after this, that's it. Once the DTP people introduce their corrections, that's it. But still the client has the final say, and they can always say, right, we've added something or we've done something with this file. This happens too. For example, it might be some sort of a sensitive speech of a CEO or a presentation of a CEO or something like that. Some speech of some big wig that, for example, an award of a bid might depend on. That will go through a lot of iterations. The presentations will go through multiple stages. There will be questions asked, and it carries on up until the very end. Any more questions? Thank you. Thanks, Vatslav. My question is maybe more a question of an editor to an editor who has been edited. If you receive some sort of marketing text from an editor where you can definitely know that there is no way of translating it certainly because it has to be a selling text, and the editor says, right, I don't like this style, I don't like your way of putting this into words, and you've passed some sort of a test, or as a translator or as an editor, and you've passed that test, so you're approved, but still you receive edits like saying like this is not readable, this is not the selling text. Just recently I've received a comment when me and my colleague were working on a book on burial services in airlines. It's a manual, and one of the key comments from the editor was about sentences being too long and do something about those sentences. But thing is, those more than half of that book is like contains quotes from ICAO regulations, etc., etc., and they have to be really accurate to avoid any sort of legal activities afterwards. So if half of the text is formed in the source text is in those long sentences, it means that no way you can split those into sentences. And after we've rebutted those comments, we've agreed on the fact that this is going to stay the way it is. Long sentences stay long. But like if it's a general comment like, right, this won't do, it doesn't work that way. I normally, in replies to such comments, I normally say, I normally ask to produce a couple of files so that we know exactly what you mean by that. What do you want from us? Please be more specific about the nature of your comments and corrections and concerns. Without that, unfortunately, there won't be any proper dialogue. Like, can you paraphrase it in a certain way? Can you change the wording or something like that? Well, if they ask you to change the wording to deal with that, there's still a quite useful tool that is called comments. You can add those in Word files, in PDF files, so that they can write out, at least in a couple of words, the nature of their edits, their concerns. As a translator who works with technical marketing materials, you still have to use terminology. So you cannot just generate those translations in like general words. There has still to be terms. The terms still have to be used because you might want to like Google those vehicles or those devices or that equipment. When I was working with photographic equipment, quite often I had to return the translations to the translators because when it came to technical specifications, an editor should not be removing technical stuff. Like if it's a diagram or a focus distance, that still has to remain, or something else. Still has to remain in that marketing text because it has to correspond to the content. Has to be similar, same to what the message was originally. I hope that answered your question. Any more questions? Thanks for this beautiful overview. My question, maybe it's not just me who deals with this on a daily basis. The well-known cross-platform capability. Just to explain from my experience, part of my translators who are in-house full-time translators, some of them work on MacBook devices. Well, it's a technically rather serious point. The easiest way is to launch Windows through the Parallels app, so to emulate Windows. Yeah, right. But they will have a great benefit. Offline speech recognition. This is what they can use, so they can use dictation to produce their translations. Yeah, I heard about that. I don't work, unfortunately. Yeah, well, unfortunately, there is no solution for complete cross-platformity, because the client, the customer, or translator then will have to invest a lot into something like a web platform, because those things are quite expensive. And another question, myself, I'm now, as an editor, I often think about this from my experience as an in-house editor.
Is it reasonable to work with separate files or to work with Google Documents when everyone could edit and work with these files? Depending on which stage you are on, we are editing already, and the translators could see what's been edited. No, translator and editor is not the team. The editors are the team here at this stage. Google Documents is an option, like I showed you here with the file export. Let me show you on the slide. This is how it looks like. Several files, you merge them together. It's available in MemoQ, in Trader Studio. You can then save bilingual Word file. It will look like a table with an English source and Ukrainian translation. And then you can upload it to Google Docs, from which point you will be able to work together as a team with this file. While translating, it's not reasonable to intervene and bother that translator. I'm sorry, you mentioned the previous comment of yours, and I felt this urge to say something. You mentioned the offline speech recognition systems. If you can, please give a couple of examples. I'm asking because this is a wonderful tool. Those who work in consecutive interpreting mode, they could use this tool as a practice, as a kind of practice, and also it's useful for translation. For Windows, what's good for Windows? Windows 10 version does have this inbuilt dictation tool. You just switch it on and you start working. I've never used it. I am quite a conservative translator. I am using Windows 7 until now. But I've heard from my colleagues, Kevin Losner from Portugal is a powerful translator and tech guy. He said that Windows 10 version does have this speech recognition tool. And it's also available for exotic languages, Ukrainian included. This is one option. What's there available? MemoQ has released this extra tool for iPhone. It's called Hey MemoQ. You dictate with your voice and you see the text appearing on your screen in MemoQ software. And for your phone, there is also Swipe Plus and Android, the Swipe keyboard. You can enter text using it. How it works? You have this software, speech recognition software on your phone. It's tied to your desktop through Wi-Fi, and that's how you enter your text, your translation. Irina Lebedeva shared this know-how in her webinar. It should be available for watching somewhere online. For MacBooks, they have had the speech recognition feature for quite a while. They launched it in 2014 so far, as I'm concerned. Ukrainian, Portuguese are supported there. So not only the standard language set is available. But there is one common disadvantage or shortcoming of these systems. I mean human factor here. If you use a lot of sh, s, and other similar sounds, like in Polish, or z, j in Ukrainian, quite often these sounds are not recognized correctly, and the words are misinterpreted. So actually that's the common disadvantage of speech recognition tools. Be ready for that. On the other hand, dictation is something that keeps you focused, and your voice should be steady. You have to be calm. You have to word the phrase in your mind before you utter every word. It's not always reasonable to use it, though. Okay, thank you, Vatslav. We are now about to have lunch. Let me introduce Olga Dyakova. We are going to be the moderators of this track, which is called Art of Translation. I'm taking off my hat of a speaker, and now I am virtually wearing my hat of moderator. Not all the speeches of the Art of Translation will be delivered physically here in this room. Some of them will be delivered over there on the terrace because they are delivered by the